Hello everyone, welcome to next section of our video. As we have already seen a basic Android app development, we have developed the quiz app in our previous sections, and you are now already aware what all main files are required for an app development, the studio setup and everything. So now I'll be discussing about some advanced apps and some newer versions of the Android devices. So as we already know that Android M, N and O devices are available in the market now. So I'll be discussing about all these three. Android M, that basically refers to Android Marshmallow devices, Android N, that those are the Nougat devices, and Android O, which is the latest release of done by the Google. So we will be discussing about all these three devices and the app development for all these three devices. So in this section of video, I'll be discussing all these points which I have mentioned over here in this PPT, and I'll be telling you one by one what exactly is the change, new API level changes, how you can execute those in your for app development, what's the main functionality, what new changes Google has brought about, and what new changes you need to do if your app was already running in some previous versions. So my main motive is that you should learn about more and more about the newer versions, that is the Android O, which is the Google has already released a preview 1, that is the initial release, the alpha version, and the preview 2, that is the incremental update, a beta version, and the final release is planned for the Q3 of 2017. So we will be discussing about the Android O. So I'll be telling you about all the important features which are available in Android O, and from the developer perspective, what all changes you need to make if your app was already running in your previous versions of mobile devices. Apart from that, I'll be also discussing about the Android Marshmallow and Android Nougat devices as well, because those also are important, because maximum almost 70% of the market has an Android Marshmallow device using. So it will be beneficial for you if you know how to develop those apps for those devices. So we'll be discussing about the introduction. I'll give you an introduction for this. I'll be discussing about the Android M features, that is Android Marshmallow features, and what all new things you have to do for Marshmallow. So Android Marshmallow, as you know, it is using API level 23. So how you can configure the libraries for the same, what all new features are there, how you can develop your app in Android Marshmallow, all this thing I'll be discussing. Different permission groups that are required during the app development. So since Marshmallow comes with many different permission groups, so I'll be discussing about the permissions as well. Then next we'll be moving to Android N features, that Android Nougat features, that is Android 7.1. So which uses a API of 25. So we will be discussing about the Android N features, though Android N is not being used in the market so much, but since it is a new version of that is released by Google, so we'll be discussing about that as well. Then the most important thing, I'll be discussing about the Android O features and the APIs, which is the latest in the market, that is Android 8. So it's already the alpha and beta versions are launched in the market, and you'll be able to know what exactly are the features available, what all APIs you need to configure, what all libraries you need to configure, and how you can make your app up to date for the Android O devices. Since this is new in the market, so you should be aware of all those features to make your app compatible with the Android O devices. Next we'll be seeing some app development. So I'll be developing an app which you can run on any of your devices, that is Android M, N and O. So I'll tell you step by step how it is done. Will be for that app development, we'll be again developing some code files. So our class files, layout files, everything I'll show you end to end how it is developed and what all configurations you have to make for executing that app in for all these three devices. Now next we will be doing execution of the app in Android M, N and O devices. So I'll show you how you can execute that. More importantly, I'll be discussing about Android O behavior changes. So as I told you, since Android O is the latest in the market, so it has some new behavior changes. So I'll be discussing about all the behavior changes, so you should be aware what exactly Google has brought new for the developers as well as for the users. then we will be migrating existing apps to Android O. So as I told you earlier, if you are already developed some apps in lower versions, like in Android Lollipop versions or lower than that, so how you can move those apps in the Android O, or you have already developed an app in Android M version, Marshmallow version, how you can migrate those existing apps to Android O. So I'll be discussing all this thing in our coming section of videos, and we'll see how the app development is done. So thank you, and let's see you in the next section.